Chapter 1. The Secret Garden. Mary Lennox was a spoiled and disagreeable little girl who was born in India. She was a very plain child and had been largely ignored by her parents, who had no time for her. When her parents died in a cholera epidemic, she was sent to England to live with her uncle, Mr. Archibald Craven, at his large gloomy house called Misselthwaite Manor. Misselthwaite Manor was a strange and mysterious place, filled with long corridors and many locked rooms. Mary was left alone most of the time, as Mr. Craven was often away, and the servants had no interest in her. Mary soon grew bored and began to explore the house and its surroundings. One day, she overheard a servant talking about a secret garden that had been locked up for 10 years. Intrigued, Mary began to search for it. She discovered that the garden had belonged to Mr. Craven's late wife, who had died in a tragic accident there. Since her death, the garden had been locked, and the key was buried. Chapter 2. The Discovery. Mary was determined to find the secret garden and make it her own. She searched the grounds of Misselthwaite Manor, and with the help of a friendly robin, she found the key buried in the earth. With the key in hand, she located the hidden door to the garden and unlocked it. The garden was overgrown and neglected, but Mary was enchanted by it. She began to clear away the weeds and dead plants, dreaming of the flowers that would bloom there. The garden became her secret, a place where she could escape from the loneliness of Misselthwaite Manor. Chapter 3. Martha and Dickon. As Mary worked in the garden, she began to change. She became stronger and healthier, and her sour disposition started to soften. She made friends with Martha, a kind and cheerful maid, and Martha's brother Dickon, who had a magical way with animals and plants. Dickon helped Mary in the garden, and together they planted flowers and cared for the plants. Mary grew to love the garden and looked forward to the time she spent there each day. She also grew more curious about the strange sounds she occasionally heard in the manor, which she believed were the cries of a child. Chapter 4. Meeting Colin. One night, Mary heard the crying again and decided to find out where it was coming from. She followed the sound through the dark corridors of the house and discovered a hidden room where a boy was lying in bed. The boy was Colin Craven, Mr. Craven's son, who had been kept hidden away because he was sickly and thought to be crippled. Colin was lonely and unhappy, convinced that he was going to die. Mary and Colin quickly became friends, and Mary told him about the secret garden. Mary decided that Colin needed the garden as much as she did. She convinced him that he could get better if he spent time in the fresh air and sunshine. Together with Dickon, they began to visit the garden, and Colin's health started to improve. Chapter 5. The Transformation. As the garden flourished, so did Colin. He grew stronger and more confident, and the 3 children spent happy days working in the garden. The garden became a symbol of their growth and healing, a place where they could forget their troubles and be themselves. Colin's transformation amazed everyone at Misselthwaite Manor. He went from being a sickly, bedridden boy to a lively and healthy child. The servants were astonished, and even Dr. Craven, who had believed that Colin would never get better, was forced to admit that he had been wrong. Chapter 6. The Secret Revealed. One day, Mr. Craven returned to Misselthwaite Manor after a long absence. He was surprised to find that the house seemed full of life and happiness. He was even more surprised when he found Colin, standing tall and healthy, in the secret garden. Colin told his father about the garden and how it had helped him get better. Mr. Craven was deeply moved, and he realized that he had been wrong to shut himself away from the world after his wife's death. He embraced his son, and together they walked through the garden, marveling at the beauty and life that had returned to it. Chapter 7: A New Beginning. The secret garden became a place of healing and renewal for everyone at Misselthwaite Manor. Mr. Craven opened the garden to everyone, and it became a symbol of hope and new beginnings. Mary, Colin, and Dickon continued to care for the garden, and it flourished under their love and attention. Mary had found a home at Misselthwaite Manor, and she was no longer the lonely, unhappy child she had been when she first arrived. She had discovered the power of friendship, love, and nature, and she knew that the secret garden would always be a part of her life.
How did you like this story? Be sure to tell in the comment section.